Nobody looked twice at Nurse Emily Carter. She kept her head down. She spoke softly. She wore her hair in the same tight bun every single shift. For 3 years, she had been invisible on purpose. Then a helicopter screamed over Fort Bragg Regional Medical Center, and everything she had buried came roaring back. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Before we dive into today's story, drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from tonight, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss the next one. Now back to Emily. The trauma bay doors slammed open at 2:14 in the morning. 7 Marines. 1 transport truck hit by an IED during a routine convoy drill gone wrong. Blood everywhere. Screaming. Chaos. Dr. Richard Hale burst in like he already owned the room. He always did. He was the kind of doctor who wore his reputation like cologne, thick and impossible to ignore. Board certified. Well connected. Photographed at every hospital gala with his hand on someone important's shoulder. He looked at Emily and barked, "Carter, 4 lines, that's it. Stay out of my way." That was Hale's favorite line. He said it to her almost every shift. He liked saying it in front of people. Nobody knew that Emily Carter wasn't her real name. Nobody knew that 4 years ago she had been Staff Sergeant Emily Reyes, combat medic, 75th Ranger Regiment, 2 overseas deployments, a Purple Heart she never mentioned and never wore. She had learned the fastest way to survive was to make herself small. Small didn't get noticed. Small didn't get asked questions. Small didn't have to explain the scar that ran along her collarbone, or why her hands used to shake when the trauma bay got too quiet, or why she still counted exits in every room she walked into. An old janitor named Walt, who mopped the same hallway every night, once stopped her and said, "You move like someone who's been in a war, Miss Carter." She had smiled and said nothing. He never brought it up again. But he watched her differently after that. Now, in the trauma bay, 6 Marines were stable. The 7th was not. His name tag read Corporal Danny Okafor. 22 years old. Blood pressure crashing. Skin turning gray. Hale glanced at the monitor and said, "Internal bleeding, prep him for the OR, standard protocol." He was already turning away, already moving toward the next patient, already congratulating himself. He was wrong. Emily's eyes locked onto Okafor's neck veins, distended and bulging. She saw the way his heart sounds had gone muffled the second she pressed her stethoscope to his chest. She noted the falling blood pressure paired with rising heart rate, the faint blue tinge creeping into his lips. This wasn't simple internal bleeding. This was a ticking clock inside his chest. Cardiac tamponade. Blood filling the sac around his heart, squeezing it until it couldn't beat anymore. Left untreated, a patient can go into full arrest in minutes. It requires immediate needle decompression or an emergency pericardiocentesis, a needle inserted carefully beneath the breastbone to relieve the pressure before the heart simply stops. Emily didn't ask for permission. Do not contradict him. Do not mention missed diagnoses. Do not make him look small. 3 rules she had followed for 3 years. She broke all 3 in 4 seconds. "Dr. Hale. It's tamponade. He needs decompression now, not the OR." Hale spun around, furious. "Excuse me." Then Okafor's monitor screamed a flatline warning. The room froze. And in that frozen half-second, something inside Emily didn't freeze at all. It woke up. Her hands, which had trembled for years any time a room got too loud, went suddenly and completely still. Her spine straightened. Her voice dropped low and even, the voice of someone who had given orders in worse places than this. Okafor's eyes fluttered open for one gasping second. He looked straight at her and, through cracked lips, whispered a single word. "Reyes." The word hit the room like a detonation. Hale's head snapped toward her. "What did he just call you?" Emily said nothing. Her hands were already moving, grabbing the kit, prepping the site, every motion sharp and practiced and utterly certain. "Carter, I asked you a question," Hale snapped, stepping toward her. "Who is Reyes?" She didn't look up. Her voice came out flat and final. "Not now." Somewhere behind her, Walt the janitor stood frozen in the doorway with his mop, watching the woman he'd once called a soldier become one right in front of him. The needle hovered over Okafor's chest. His heart had less than 90 seconds left, and Dr. Hale had absolutely no idea what he had just uncovered. Emily's hand was steady as stone. She slid the needle beneath Okafor's breastbone, angled precisely toward the pericardial sac, watching the monitor with the calm of someone who had done this in far worse conditions than a lit trauma bay. "Come on," she murmured. Not to Hale. Not to anyone. To Okafor. The syringe drew back. Dark fluid filled the chamber. The pressure around his heart released. His blood pressure climbed. His color returned. The flatline warning stopped screaming. "He has a chance," Emily said quietly. The room exhaled as one. Hale stood frozen for exactly 2 seconds before his ego caught up with his fear. "You just performed an unauthorized invasive procedure without physician approval," he said loudly, making sure the room heard him. "You're done, Carter. Effective immediately, you're suspended pending investigation." Emily didn't flinch. "No," she said. "I am just done hiding." A nurse near the door had already pulled out her phone, recording. 2 techs exchanged a look. Walt stood in the hallway with his mop forgotten at his side. By 6 o'clock that morning, the hospital lobby was crowded. Word had spread fast, the way it always does when someone finally tells the truth out loud. At 6:20, 3 men in uniform walked through the front doors. Their leader was a gray-haired colonel with a weathered face and a folder tucked under his arm. "I'm looking for Staff Sergeant Emily Reyes," he said, voice carrying across the lobby. Hale actually laughed. "There's no soldier here. Just a nurse who overstepped." The colonel didn't blink. He opened the folder. "Staff Sergeant Emily Reyes. 75th Ranger Regiment. 2 combat deployments. Purple Heart. Bronze Star with Valor for pulling 3 wounded soldiers from a burning vehicle under direct enemy fire." He looked up. "This woman saved my son's life 4 years ago. I've been trying to find her ever since." The lobby went silent. Hale's face drained of color. That's not possible. She's been working under a completely different. Under a name she chose," the colonel said, "because people like you make people like her feel like they need to disappear." Hale opened his mouth again, grasping. "This changes nothing. She still violated protocol, she still—" "Dr. Hale," a new voice interrupted. A hospital compliance officer stepped forward, holding a laptop. "We pulled Corporal Okafor's earlier chart. You logged his condition as internal bleeding requiring or transport 20 minutes before he coded. Nurse Reyes' note, entered in real time, correctly identified tamponade. Your delay would have killed him." "That is not the issue right now," Hale snapped, sweat forming on his brow. "Actually it is," the officer said. "Because we also found this." She turned the laptop screen around. An email chain. Hale's name. A pharmaceutical rep's name. A funded clinical trial that required a certain number of ore transports each month to hit its numbers, transports that padded Hale's bonus and the drug company's data, regardless of what patients actually needed. Okafor almost died so Hale's numbers would look good. The color left Hale's face completely. "You were never protecting protocol," Emily said, stepping forward, her voice steady and cold. "You were protecting a payoff." Hale lunged, not for her, but for the laptop, desperate to grab it before security could see more. A tech blocked him. He shoved her aside, and for one terrifying second the room shifted from exposure to danger, security scrambling, Hale shouting that none of this was over. It was Emily who moved first, catching his wrist, pinning it with a precise, practiced motion that had nothing to do with nursing and everything to do with years of training he would never understand. "It's over," she said quietly. Security took him from there. Weeks later, Corporal Okafor stood on his own 2 feet in the hospital's new wing, a wing with a freshly painted sign above the entrance. The Reyes Okafor Trauma Center, founded on courage. "You saved my life twice," he told her. "Once out there. Once in here." Emily thought of her old sergeant, the one she'd lost overseas, the one whose voice she still heard sometimes in the quiet moments before sleep. She thought of how long she had run from that voice instead of listening to it. "I'm done running," she said softly, mostly to herself. Walt was there too, Mop leaning against the wall, grinning. "Told you," he said. "Knew you were somebody." Emily smiled, really smiled, for the first time in years. "Turns out," she said, "I was somebody the whole time. I just needed a reason to stop hiding her." Hale lost his license within the month. The trial was shut down. The truth, once spoken, could not be unspoken. Sometimes the quietest person in the room has already survived the loudest war you'll ever hear about. Courage isn't loud. It's the choice to stop disappearing. If this story moved you, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments, what would you have done in Emily's place? The next story is already waiting.